Good afternoon, Oak Grove. Happy Thursday. Welcome to this week's installment of the Midweek Update series here on the church's YouTube channel, where I just populate into your device in the middle of the week to smile at you and say hello and try to keep the church on our consciousness for the remainder of the week that we're not in worship on Sunday morning, because that's a very important thing for us to do. So thanks for taking just a moment to join me here. This is the return of the Midweek Update after I took Lent off. I did not do any of these during the Lenten season because I figured, well, we're already showing our Lenten midweek prayer services on the YouTube channel each week. So I figured you already had your weekly reminder that the church still exists for the other 6.5 days of the week that we're not in worship on Sunday morning. I figured you did not need more of that. So you only need so much of my face in your life. I think there's a limit to all good things, you know. So we usually take a break from it during Lent. What am I going to talk to you about today? I'm just going to reflect on the experience of Lent. What is the whole Lenten experience like for those that are not able to make every service? What is it like for me as the pastor? Lent started months ago in a worship and music meeting where, sitting down with the worship and music folks, I had asked them, what do we want to change this year? Or do we want to change anything this year? Do we want to do anything different this year? And the response from several people around the table, and it was somewhat tongue-in-cheek, and they were chuckling and laughing when they said it, was, nothing. We're creatures of habit at Oak Grove. We're fine with doing the same thing. On the one hand, I feel like as pastor, I can't let us get away with doing that too many years in a row, because we don't grow and we don't move forward in our faith if we don't do something a little different every now and then. But it's okay to do the same thing for at least a little while. We are creatures of habit fundamentally as human beings, and seeing and hearing the same things in our worship every year, that helps to remind us that it is Lent. That's what Lent sounds like to us. So we started things off with Ash Wednesday, and I delivered the ashes to go from the front door of the church. I moved that to early morning this year instead of doing it at noon, and I don't really know if that made a big difference in participation. We didn't have a whole lot of people stop by, but we did have a handful of people stop by, including, as is the case every year, at least a couple people who were not members of our church and just stopped by, so that was nice. And then we had our service on Ash Wednesday evening, of course, and then on the Wednesdays, all throughout Lent, we had our Lenten midweek soup suppers, where this year, instead of having our committees serve the meal, we had individuals who know how to make homemade soup sign up for time slots instead. I don't know if we will do it that way again next year or not. Worship and music, we'll have to sit down and debrief whether that worked for us or not. But we had at least 3 soups every week. And these meals are supposed to be meager meals. They're not supposed to be big, expensive, complicated meals. But nevertheless, the soup was very good. The attendance was something between 10 to 20 people most weeks. Is that as much as it used to be in eras past of the church? Maybe not. But even for the people who come out, as long as they're getting something out of it, we'll keep doing it. And then we move upstairs to the sanctuary for Holden Evening Prayer, and those services are available for viewing here on the YouTube channel. This year was a little interesting because we did not have camera operators scheduled each week, which was my fault because I didn't reach out to the AV crew to ask for volunteers to serve the camera booth each week. So we ended up largely just turning the camera on and leaving it on one camera shot each week, and that's what we did. Furthermore, we also ended up doing 2 of those services unaccompanied because of prior commitments by our musicians, and they were not able to be there to accompany us. And so we ended up singing the Holden Evening Prayer service unaccompanied a couple times. And let me tell you what, there are a couple of songs in that service that are tricky, and doing it without accompaniment was a new challenge, but Oak Grove is up to the challenge because we powered through it. So the experience was a little new and different this year. But the sound of Holden Evening Prayer, the sound of that music, is what Lent sounds like to our hardcore group of Oak Grovers who are here almost every single Wednesday night throughout Lent. Then, of course, moving into Holy Week, we had Palm Sunday, and we celebrated the Palm and Passion Sunday again, as we always usually do. The weather cooperated with us enough to process into the front door carrying our palms and singing All Glory, Laud, and Honor, which is the only correct way to start off Palm Sunday. Then we had our dramatic reading of the Passion. Knowing that not everybody is going to be able to be here on Good Friday, what's critically important is that we have to bring at least some recognition. I was going to say celebration, but celebration is not the word. We have to bring some recognition of what Jesus did on the cross on Good Friday into worship on Palm Sunday, so that everybody gets at least a little taste of it. So after the children's pageant, which Tracy Schaefer put together for us, literally that morning, they had no rehearsals for it, and we enjoyed that. After that was over, we did our dramatic reading of the Passion story, because it's important to bring some element of Good Friday into a service that everybody can attend, because not everybody comes on Friday. And so we did that, because the joy of Easter Sunday morning means nothing until we stop and take a moment to reflect on the agony of Good Friday first. And in fact, that's what all of Lent is about, right? And so moving through Holy Week, we had our usual foot washing and stripping of the altar during Maundy Thursday, and then we had our usual service without Holy Communion on Good Friday, a service of shadows on that day where we just did readings and prayers on that day. Then we have our Saturday evening Easter Vigil. I think that this service may still be flummoxing and confusing a few people, even after we've been doing it for a few years now. And that's okay. I introduced this my first year at Oak Grove. This is a very ancient tradition for the church. The church has been doing this for 2,000 years, having a worship service on Saturday night that starts in darkness and shadow, and then the flame of the new Easter candle processes into the church, and the church lights up. And the day starts with the solemnity of Lent, and then it's like a switch is flipped, and suddenly Christ is risen, and now it's Easter instead of Lent. And that happens during the vigil service. It's a very powerful service, but it is a worship service. It is not a prayer vigil. I think a lot of people hear the word vigil and they assume that it's one of those prayer vigils where people sign up for, I'll take an hour to sit in the church and pray. A lot of other churches do that. And I had a couple people call me to ask about signing up for an hour during the vigil. That's what makes me think that some folks still don't quite get what it is, and that's okay. We'll continue to educate the longer we do it. It is a worship service, and it's a worship service that could be attended in lieu of coming to church on Easter Sunday morning if you'd like to sleep in on Easter Sunday, because the vigil basically is when it switches from Lent to Easter during that service. And then, of course, on Easter Sunday morning, we have our sunrise service with Unionville at 6:30 a.m., which I will freely confess to you all. I am your pastor. I love you. I will continue to offer sunrise as long as you want it, as long as there are at least a few people that desire it and are asking for it. We will do it. But boy, that is not an easy morning for me as somebody that is not an early riser. That is the only morning of the year you'll catch me getting up at 5 a.m. I know for a lot of you folks, getting up at 5 a.m. might be something you do all the time. That is not something I do all the time. So that is a rough morning for me. That is a 3 or 4 cups of coffee that morning type of day for me, whereas I usually drink 1 on most days. But we had sunrise service with our siblings from Unionville, and then we had a continental breakfast afterwards. Thank you to the people on the worship and music committee for hosting that. And then for our Easter Sunday morning, I expected a big crowd for the 9 a.m. service. I was blown away by the fact that the ushers counted, I believe, 106 people. I didn't even know that our sanctuary could seat that many. And so I was completely humbled and blown away. And on that day, we received 3 new members into our membership on that day. And we had First Holy Communion for Ivy Crum. She made her first communion that day. And it was a wonderful, joyful day where the sanctuary was filled with the scent of the new Easter flowers and new life was in our midst. And let me tell you what, weather-wise, the weather cooperated with us pretty well. There was no rain for the Palm Sunday procession or for Easter sunrise, Easter vigil, starting outdoors. There was no rain for any of that. I do wish it had been a little cooler during Holy Week, because Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night, boy, those services were awfully warm. But it is what it is. We powered through. I was peeling my robe off of me by the time we were done. But we'll survive. So that is a snapshot of the whole entire Lent, Holy Week, and Easter cycle of life in the church. For those that are not able to make all of those services, that's a snapshot of everything that we do. And it is a powerful movement throughout Lent and Easter. Lent may not be our favorite time of the year because it is a time for solemnity. It is a time for analyzing ourselves, thinking about our sins and the way we've fallen short and the ways that we've disappointed God, to meditate upon our human brokenness. And then the joy of Easter Sunday morning comes and reminds us that all of those sins of which we repented during the Lenten season, they are forgiven because of the risen Christ and what he did for us. But the joy of Easter Sunday doesn't mean anything if we don't take a little bit of time to linger in knowing why Christ had to do what he did, and then knowing what it is that he did, taking some time to contemplate the power of the cross. So that is a snapshot of the season, and now that Lent and Easter are over, it's back to normal life at the church, and there are immediately things coming up on which to focus our attention. We have our Powell Road cleanup this coming Saturday morning at 8:30 a.m. We will gather at the church to beautify our community. Please do join us. That usually only takes an hour to 2 hours. All are welcome to help us out, and many hands will make light work. That Saturday evening, we will celebrate our second Saturday night service, which we launched last month, and we normally want to have those on the first Saturday night of each month, but this month we'll have to postpone it to the second Saturday because of Easter weekend last weekend. Then the following weekend, we will have the memorial service for Paula Evans, who passed away a couple of weeks ago. That will be the following Saturday morning, followed by a luncheon here at the church. So things immediately keep moving in the life of the church, and there will be more stuff to come that we will announce at a later time. That's what I got for you today, Oak Grove. I just thought that I would reflect upon the whole Easter season from the pastor's perspective, what it looks like and what it means for those that aren't able to join us for all of those things. So I will see you hopefully on Saturday for road cleanup and maybe for Saturday night service. If not, I will see you Sunday morning. Take care, Oak Grove. God bless, and have a wonderful rest of your week.